what made you decide? I mean, before you went, you knew you were gay.
Yeah.
So what made you say, I'm gay, I'm going to go to BYU?
Well, it wasn't like that at all, I guess, for a little backstory here. But in high school, like there was never any moment where it was like, wow, I'm gay. But it's sort of, just whenever I started having feelings for anybody, it was always for boys. And I always just knew that, So in high school, I knew I was gay, but it wasn't too big of an issue. Like with my friends and everything, I mean, I wasn't out to anybody. I wasn't out to myself, really. It's kind of a weird thing being in the closet, because you know, but you don't know.
But you have hope for change.
Right. And I was very gung-ho for the gospel and everything in the church. Homosexuality was just sort of totally compartmentalized. It was just sort of, I acted like it wasn't there, although I knew it was. And then going to BYU, it was the only school I really felt like applying to, and then I applied to it and I got through all the application stuff, and I was like, wow, that was a lot of work. I don't even feel like, writing essays for other schools. So I didn't even apply for a different school than BYU. And so I was in a very different state when I planned on going there than I was when I got there.
How'd you feel about the church or religion?
Well, when I applied there, I was totally into it all. But then, about a month before I left there, it was August 4th, 2007, I remember it. I was having a sleepover with a friend, and he was Mormon, and I found out that he was having all this doubt and everything too. And I had there had been some things about the church that were sort of mounting on my mind. And I was almost in a crisis of faith, but not quite. And then just finding out that there were other people, just in my ward that I didn't know about who were thinking the same things, was really big. And so we just talked for like an hour, just about what we thought. And then I was laying there, and I don't know if you've ever read Joseph Campbell, but he's I've read quite a bit of his books, and he has this one called The Hero with 1,000 Faces, and in it he just tracks everybody who's been great and like a hero to people, sort of their life has a similar archetypal path type thing. Anyways, I was just laying in bed that night on August, and this thought hit me so hard. Nothing was ever really, never experienced anything like that. It was like a thought almost knocked the breath out of me. Like, I was just like panting, and I was like, oh, it was like blowing my mind, and I was like, the church leaders, from what I know about their life, they haven't traveled this hero's journey. They haven't gone through this path that I know about. Sure, Joseph Smith did, and maybe Brigham Young, but I don't know about everybody else. And so that was big, because if these are, the chosen men of God and everything, I thought that they should definitely have traveled this path. So I started researching into their lives, and then that led to all sorts of, looking up historical things about Mormonism on the internet can
it's not good.
expose
it's not
you
good.
to yeah, so I stumbled onto xmormon.org or something like that just in my researches, which is like,
in fairness, you have to be careful, because a lot of people don't give good information.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of
totally
good information that you're not going to get from the church. That is true.
But it's just stuff I'd never heard before or thought about, and so I know when I first got to this site it was like anti-Mormon, but I didn't really understand it because my brain was just so blocked to it. I was like, what are they talking about? They're saying something bad about the church? This is unheard of, but I got into it, and like the whole rest of August was just shot, because I was just researching church historical stuff and everything. So when I got to BYU, I pretty much just thought the church was a fraud, and Joseph Smith wrote the Book of Mormon and all this stuff. But still, I hadn't thought about the gay thing yet. And so my first semester at BYU was sort of continuing my journey with the church and doctrine and God and belief and all that. I feel like the testimony that I had was sort of wrong, so God had to just shatter it, sort of just clean the slate and build something new. So that August experience was just get rid of everything I thought I knew, and then first semester was rebuilding a new paradigm for life, sort of just not believing everything you hear and all that.
So how's that gonna work at school?
Well,
I mean, what's their views on? I know that, like, they do accept non-Mormons to school. Are they good with you? Like, if you're like, I don't believe, or I struggle with, or
well, I talked to my bishop pretty early on, and we were meeting at least 3 times a month, usually 4 times a month, and we would talk about it. And so he was just interested in helping me, and he gave me some books to read and whatever. So, my ecclesiastical leaders were always totally in on it, and I was very honest with him. I was just like, I don't believe this, I think that's wrong, and he would just listen and,
But there's no rule, you have to have a testimony to graduate?
Well, I don't think you should, because,
No, because there are people that aren't Mormon that don't believe it at all.
No, I know, but they go. As long as you're obeying the thing that you signed.
As long as you're obeying that honor code. I think that one of the goals of BYU is to foster faith and everything. So I think there's room for people who are doubting at BYU.
For diversity.
Yeah. So that whole little church journey first semester was really independent of my being gay, but then since I had such a different view of life after that, and it's not like I wasn't like a complete atheist, don't believe in anything or whatever. It was, I still felt very spiritual and everything, I just wasn't in the same place at all that I was before, which is every word that comes out of general authority's mouth is complete and utter truth. So that sort of facilitated me being able to come to terms with myself and come out to myself and everything after that. Because January was the month where I sort of was like, all right, I don't know totally what I believe in with the church, but I don't think it's a total fraud and a waste of time and everything. So I was in a pretty good place, I felt, with the church. And then I ordered all the books off Amazon that have to do with Mormonism and homosexuality, like Carolyn Pearson's Goodbye, I Love You, and No More Goodbyes.
What do you think of those books? I mean, because a lot of people who are struggling with this, they all read those, or they're like, have you read X, Y, Z? And I have to admit, I haven't read most of them, because I just didn't think, I was like, whatever. But I hear there's some really good...
Yeah, they were very good. I ordered them in December and sent them to my house in Washington, and I told my brother and my sister and my dad and everybody that I had purchased gifts and mailed them to the house, so do not open any packages that are addressed to me to the house, because they're gifts. And I made my brother would text me, he's like, the package arrived for you, and I put it in your room. I'd be like, good. Never open it.
It's porn!
Yeah.
What's he so secret about?